All right, so this video is about 5 things we've learned.
I don't know.
5 things we've learned about home ownership.
Correct.
Okay, this video is about 5 things we've learned about home ownership.
Go.
So
What are the 5 things you learned about home ownership?
go.
Go.
Wait.
1.
We should first just tell people that you know, our story a little bit.
Hi,
We moved into this house,
my name is William.
this Cape
This is Andy.
Ranch style house.
This is our home. Don't look me up. Don't look up a ranch style house.
All right, so this video, this video is about 5 things we've learned about home ownership.
Correct.
Before we kick things off, I just wanted to point out we moved into this house about a year ago, and we definitely learned a lot along the way.
Yeah.
So here we go.
5 things.
5 things.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna start off. I wrote a whole list. We wrote a list. The house hunting process is overwhelming, and there are constant bidding wars. So what we mean by that is, in terms of the bidding wars, we didn't think that, or at least I didn't think that every single offer we made would be included in a bidding war. So they would take our offer, and then we'd hear back from our agent, and they would say something like, oh, by Wednesday, the highest and best offer. So I think we've learned that, like, before even buying a house, make sure, one, that you have an agent or realtor, whatever you want to call them, broker that you trust, and don't go above your budget or what you committed to just because there was a bidding war. And I think that just made the process a little more overwhelming because it took us about a year.
Correct. So, you know, a lot of the times by now you should have received like a commitment letter from the bank that said, hey, your budget for the home is 300K. And then you start your bidding, or not say, but you go ahead and you say, you know, I don't want to really go over 250. So you find a great apartment, you say, oh, 250, that's fantastic. And then someone else bids 260. And you go, okay, fine. Or house. And then you bid 260. And then the other person bid 270. And next thing you know, you're at 300 already. You're like, okay, fine, I could do 300. But then they bid
this
three.
Is just an example.
This is just an example. They bid 320, and then your realtors may ask you, can you go 320? And then that's where really you probably could, but you don't want to. So that's one of those scenarios you really want to make sure you're comfortable with the price, because you don't want to overextend yourself.
And that brings us to our next point, where you want to be mindful of additional costs.
Correct.
Is there anything else you wanted to say before that?
No. That's actually a pretty good transition. So
yeah. Sit. So yeah, we think that you shouldn't stretch yourself for the closing, because you need to have down payment, you need to have additional money set aside for all the fees, like lawyer fees. They also want you to make sure you have like some sort of cushion, like for a rainy day, and you have to account for additional costs afterwards. Like, I don't know if we're going to talk about this part now, but like the assessment.
Yeah, that's a whole bunch of other small items that you really have to consider. You know, I guess for me in particular, it was more about, you get this sheet of paper where it breaks down your costs and stuff like that. And then you don't realize there are other costs outside that sheet of paper, right? They do estimate for inspection, things like that. But if you go to one house and you like it, and then you do an inspection and then things don't work out, it ranges from like 500 to 1,000. So it doesn't work out, and then you move to another house. Well, that's another 500 to 1,000. right? And so you keep doing that until you find the right one, or you find the one that you like, or you go through the process and you find, hey, there's 10 things that it has to be resolved, and then you do another inspection.
Yeah,
and like Sandy mentioned, the closing costs, sometimes there's fees there that they didn't account for, or they tell you a number, but then something happened and it's 2% more, and that 2% and it's a few $100s or sometimes a few $1,000s, are things that you need to be ready for, right? And by the way, once you move in, don't forget you have to hire a truck to move all your furniture and everything else. And,
unless you have family.
Unless you have family, do stuff in small pieces. But, things like that, $200 here, $50 there. I mean,
also,
it really goes.
Also, before the closing, you meet with your lawyer and you sign the contract. And that's where you basically put a down payment. And once you sign that contract, if you decide not to go through with it, you're losing money. Yeah. You're losing that money. So be mindful of that you're actually want that house or apartment before you commit to it.
They tell you, but it doesn't really sort of hit you once you realize you signed that paper. Like there's no backing away from it unless there's something else. It's a pretty big commitment. Not only that, but it's your money being held. There's no way you have access to it, and so it is what it is.
Oh, and in that same, I guess number 2 is kind of long, but with the additional costs, you want to make sure consider if you want a yard, the yard size, and things like that, because you have to consider if you're going to mow the lawn yourself, then you have to purchase a lawnmower probably, if the owner didn't leave you one. And also, if you don't want to mow the lawn, you also have to consider additional costs like that, because then you need to hire someone. And if you live on the East Coast, when it snows, you need to consider that for a snow blower, or if you want to hire someone to do that. So things like that.
Yeah, and for those who live in this city or look to buy an apartment, you don't realize the small little items like shades for each of the windows. It's about $30 there, and then if you have 10 windows, it adds up, and so, or you realize, oh man, now and again, everyone does paint and stuff like that, but is really accounting for these smaller items.
Those things you don't really think about.
I want to change each of the locks. Well, each of the locks costs for each of the doors, and so
it's like the HGTV mindset. But then you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I need to step back a little bit.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
It's number 3.
Number 3. Consider what you actually need in terms of rooms, like square footage, the number of rooms, because what you think you need, you may not actually use, and you also have to think about you're gonna have to furnish those rooms, so be mindful of that. I would say if you're not into cooking, do you really need a huge kitchen with an island? So consider those things. Don't just go for it because you want a bigger house or you want a kitchen of your dreams, which is nice, but just consider what you actually use and what you need, and not trying to impress other people. Just do what works for you, your family. I don't know.
Which is a big one. I think, the family part. You always think about, do I need 2 extra rooms because I have a lot of family and all of these things, but it's a lot. It's a lot of cleaning and everything else, and it's great to have the extra bedroom because when they do stay over, they have their own privacy and they're super happy. But at the same time, if you're with a partner or you're single or whatever is the case, and you have a hard time keeping up with your small apartment, imagine twice the size, 3 times, right? Even though the room may not be used and everything is in its place, dust and everything else, and so accounting for that, you have a bigger kitchen and you have a bigger place to clean and everything else. So really think about it. All right. Whether it's just an apartment or a house, Square footage is a big thing
Right.
that you have to maintain. And for a house, you have a lot more. You have the grass, you have the gutters.
In the fall, you have to rake the leaves or get what is it? A leaf blower or
Yep.
air blower? I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever you call it, but for the leaves. So you have to consider all those things. Yeah.
You could always hire someone, but that's now adding to your overall budget. And by the way, we're not trying to discourage you. By no means. We're just giving you an eye opener so that you can embrace the change that is coming to you. And it's a good change. It's just you need to be ready for it. Otherwise, it's going to become more of like a shock, to your system.
Yeah, and to that point, I think it makes us appreciate our house and like kind of falling in love with it little by little, because you're putting all this care into it, and you're taking care of not only the inside of your home but the exterior, and just making it your own and making sure things are good outside as well. So I think it makes you value it a little bit more and appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, which brings us to number 4, enjoy
right.
your home. So with all those indoor chores and outdoor chores and whatnot, you have to take time to really enjoy what you purchased, and I think layer things over time. So hopefully you have something when you move in to sit on, like a sofa. We got our sofa and our chair from our previous apartment. Now we live in a house, but it thankfully fits in our space and we're happy with it. So just think about those things and being able to enjoy your home and not feel pressured to get everything done right away, so you can actually relax and appreciate it and don't feel that pressure.
Yeah, 100%. I think people tend to forget the fact that now that you spend all this effort to get into the home, you tend to get overwhelmed. I think you mentioned a ton of stuff that people sort of take into account. I need to buy furniture, I need chairs, I need tables, and all these things. And the reality is you don't need it all at once. I mean, people want everything at once, but look for the right pieces for your home, look for the right furniture, take your time, enjoy the house, enjoy the corners, the edge, the exterior.
You don't have to fill in every corner. And
yeah, exactly.
We took our time looking for a dining table because we wanted to be very selective and not just buy something just because we needed to buy something. We had like a round table that worked for the time being, but we recently purchased the dining table, and we're happy that we didn't just like jump into it right away, and we took our time. So
yeah. And one of those things that you really want to make sure you embrace the home, right? If the main thing for you is the big screen TV, then invest the money there, and then little by little pick up the other items. And again, I mean, you want to enjoy the home. Don't try to take every weekend to do work in the house. And in fact, that not off topic, but this is where it comes to selection when you go for a home, which is going back to point 1, is do you want a home that is turnkey, or do you want a fixer up or somewhere in the middle?
Right.
Because each of those will have a different vibe in a sense. A turnkey, you just come in and everything is already there. You don't have to do much, if any. It is a little more pricey usually because they did all the work for you. A fixer upper, it's a lot of work. But again, if you're willing to put time, and then you find something in the middle, and then that's where you have almost everything. You just have to cosmetically do a number of stuff. So it's finding that balance, because you definitely don't want to get at home where every weekend you're doing something constantly to try to fix it. But then
yeah, I think we learned that like in the beginning it was just like, oh, we need to do this and we need to do that, but then we learned, and we even have to remind ourselves now, like, let's take a step back. What are our priorities? What's what do we need to do? What can we hold off on, just to really enjoy the house, and even the summer, like getting out and enjoying the summer. So
yeah. For sure.
So point number 5, we learned a greater sense of community, and also taking into consideration commute, like if you're commuting to work.
Yeah, huge.
Mhm.
I think it's one of the biggest pointers that you should get out of this video. You're still focused on looking for that 2-bedroom apartment with a perfect view to the outside, perfect view with the number of bedrooms, number, size of yard, and so forth. But you really should enjoy your neighborhood, the community, and so the commute. If you're traveling to work an hour and a half each way, and have colleagues who travel 2.5 hours each way, it's 4 hours a day. You're not really enjoying your home. By the time you get home, you're exhausted. You're not gonna want to do anything. As well as your community, you really want to sort of take that community. If you're a city person, then find a nice little house where there are shopping stores around or walking distance. Last thing you want is to drive 2 hours away just to find people.
Just consider what you're looking for and what you're interested in. And if you want to make a move to a house from an apartment, I think that's just make sure that you are aware of what type of neighborhood you want to be in.
Yeah.
Like, do you want the houses a little closer? Do you want more space? It doesn't mean that because you're moving from a city you don't want that quiet space, but there will be kind of like this
sacrifice and or not a sacrifice, but more of a
like a shock.
But I think it's a give and take, right? I know people who go 2 hours just because they want all these things that hit their checklist, but then they lose out on one of the main things, which is enjoying the home and stuff like that. So it's a give and take, and to your point, it's a shock. Once you move in, it's not like you can just move out. It's yours, and you have to embrace it.
Right. And also consider, like, if you want a family-friendly neighborhood, dog-friendly, things like that. I know it's like not like an apartment where some apartments don't allow pets, but even like dog-friendly, if you want a dog park or if you have kids and you want to have play dates. Like, we're in a neighborhood that we've met a lot of new people, and we've had
some little kids.
The same age as Bella, and we've had play dates with them, and it's really nice because you feel like more connected and more of a community. And even if like we grew up in the city and there's so many people, like sometimes you're just passing people by and you're not even connecting in that way. But I didn't realize that moving excuse me, to a house away from the city, that we would actually connect with some of the people that we've done so far.
Yeah. And living in a house is slightly different than living in the city, just because your neighbors in your neighborhood sort of get to know you as much as get to know them. They walk by, they know what's happening around, they know who's driving in, who's driving out, and you get to be honest, know what's happening as well in the neighborhood. And so it's not being nosy, it's just there isn't much to do, so you get to find out, and so something to consider as well.
Yeah, you're like, wait a second, who's that new person in the neighborhood?
Exactly.
Yeah. Just to kind of wrap this up, I think when you're looking for a house or an apartment, whatever it is that you want to purchase and be a homeowner of, I think once you find it, I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but I think you'll know, like, we saw countless houses and we've seen turnkey houses, older homes that needed updating, older homes that weren't so bad. But in the long run, I think when we came to this house, there was something about it, the charm, and we knew kind of what we were thinking about and what we wanted. And it was a long process, but I think once you find it, you'll know.
Agree. It's just a matter of knowing where you are and knowing yourself best, and your realtor will help you and guide you, but I think you have to follow your gut and advice, and you sense it. There's going to be a point where you're like, this is it, and you have to feel comfortable at that point.
Yeah. And we're still learning. There's still a lot of things we are learning along the way and are growing and evolving from, but it's a really good feeling, and I don't know, There's just something about it.
Yeah. Any questions, any comments, send them to Sandy. And
Yeah.
hopefully this video helps.
Yep. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you want me to do another collaboration with Will. So yeah, bye.
Or any specific topic. See ya.